Hi, everybody. Betty McIntyre, Director of Public Policy and Community Relations with the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and the Hard of Hearing, bringing you your biweekly legislative update. We are already in week 3 of this legislative session, and man, things are really moving quickly. We have 1 week left before all bills must be introduced by legislative members. Of the bills that we are seeing so far that have been introduced, several of them are from bills that never made it through the legislative process last year. And that was because of the abrupt end of the legislative session due to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, some of those bills that are being reintroduced this year are taking a priority this legislative session and are being fast-tracked through a companion bill process. A companion bill is also known as a twin bill, where both chambers introduced the same piece of legislation and they worked through the process at the same time. That is an expedited process to the legislation to get that bill to the governor in a more expedited manner. Even though our bill, Senate Bill 1092, is reintroduced this year again, we do not have a companion bill. We chose to do a single track bill this year. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the nature of the course and what we see sometimes in the legislative process. So exciting news about our bill, Senate Bill 1092. It was heard this past Wednesday in the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. I'm happy to report that the bill passed out of committee unanimously with a vote of 8-0. It was pretty exciting to see that. And we had some really good conversation with the committee members. The committee members were excited to see members of the deaf, hard of hearing, and deafblind community sign in to testify. So I really want to thank the community members who signed in to testify in support of that bill. But one of the most awesomest things that came out of the committee hearing this past Wednesday is, with committee hearings being done via Zoom, we were able to incorporate accessibility into the platform for the committee hearing. And the Twitter world was abuzz in the lobbying and legislative community down at the Capitol. A lot of screenshots of ASL interpreters, people excited to see accessibility down, at the Capitol via Zoom. And it was nice to see people see how easy accessibility can be done. So to be a part of that and to demonstrate that to the legislative community was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool to see. So, but one of the things that we want to make sure that you all know is you too can have your voice heard down at the Capitol. If you want to know more information about how to sign in to support a bill or oppose a bill, if you want to sign in to speak on a bill, to testify, any bill that you feel is important to you, please contact ACDHH. We can walk you through the request to speak system. We can help you get an account set up down at the Capitol. Just give us a call or email us at info@acdhh.az.gov. And just put in the subject line of your email, RTS account. And staff will get in touch with you and walk you through that process. Now, we want to talk a little bit about some of the bills that we are seeing being introduced, being heard in committee, bills that we're monitoring and watching that we think would have an impact on the deaf, blind, hard of hearing communities, as well as ACDH administration business, and as well as the licensing community. So first off, I want to talk about some voter bills, election bills. It's no secret that this past election cycle was a bit controversial, lots of different thoughts and opinions on how the process went down, and a lot of misinformation related to the election this past year. And one of the things that we see after every election, whether it's controversial or not, we see a lot of new election bills get dropped and introduced to try to modify, correct, or enhance or take away some of the process. And we are seeing a couple of bills that are concerning as it relates to voter access. For example, we are monitoring a couple of bills that would eliminate the permanent early voting ballot list. So if those bills were to go through the legislative process and be successful, they would eliminate the ability for voters to vote by mail and would require all voters to vote at their polling place or voting center. So we have concerns about that because many of our constituents that we serve in the deaf, hard of hearing, deafblind community do vote by mail. It's not only is it easier to vote by mail, but it's a less frustrating experience to vote in the comfort of your home than having to go to a polling place, having to wonder if accessibility is going to be provided, and all the challenges that the community experiences in a day-to-day lives. So we are definitely following those. You can find those bills and follow along with us in our weekly legislative update email blast that we have. And we post those on Facebook as well. Another voter bill that's going through the process, through the legislative session right now, is a bill that would require those individuals who do vote by mail to have their signatures notarized before they can vote their early ballot. So putting another step in the process to early voting. Once again, you can follow along with that in our weekly legislative email alerts. There are some other voter registration, election related bills that are going through the process. Some of them have not been referred to committee yet. We'll continue to monitor if those move and let you know. So you can make a determination on how you would like to be engaged with the legislative process as it relates to those bills and your right as a voter in the state of Arizona. So there's a couple of education bills that we are also monitoring. There's two in particular that we are following. One is related to alternative assessments. This bill, sponsored by Senator Bartow, would create a study committee that will evaluate the parameters and the standards around when an alternative assessment can be done and given to a special education student when it comes to taking standardized tests. So we are monitoring that bill just because we do know that it will have an impact for children who may be in the special education settings at their school. Another bill that we're monitoring in the education committee is a bill sponsored by Representative Longden. And this bill is related to IEPs, an individualized education plan. And in summary, what this bill would do would allow when a student is transferred from one school district to another, it will allow the new school district to evaluate, reassess that previous district's IEP plan. So right now, it's our understanding that that bill will be heard in education. It's just a matter of when it will be on the education agenda. So another bill that we are following is related to telemedicine. This bill would open up who and what medical healthcare providers can provide telemedicine in the state of Arizona. This bill is directly related to the executive order that we saw issued early on in the pandemic, allowing for telemedicine to occur amongst many healthcare professionals in the state. We are monitoring this bill right now. And because this bill does allow for a advisory council committee on best practices. And we at the ACDHH are working with some of the stakeholders on being included as part of that advisory committee on telemedicine best practices. Because as we have heard from the community, that there has been both positive and negative situations and impacts on telemedicine as it relates to the deaf, the hard of hearing, and deafblind community. So we really want to make sure that our voice, your voice, is heard at the table to ensuring that when telemedicine is provided as an option, that it is done in an accessible manner, and that the infrastructure to allow for telemedicine to occur is being thought of. So we're excited to monitor that bill, to be included, and have those ongoing conversations related to overall how telemedicine is provided in the state of Arizona. So we're looking forward to that bill going through the process with our requested change. So there are a couple of other bills that are going through related to licensing, not specifically related to American Sign Language license interpreters, but to the licensing boards in general. One of the bills that has been introduced, it would require all state agencies that issue professional license, to waive their fees to active military members, their spouses, and/or veterans. So we are monitoring that. If it goes through, we'd be more than happy to support our vets and their spouses on waiving that fee if that is successful through the legislative session. So that's just kind of what we're walking through this legislative session. As I said in the beginning, we have 1 week left before all the bills that are going to be introduced can be introduced. So we'll continue to provide you the updates in our weekly email updates. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll provide you another update, video update of what's going on down at the Capitol. And if you ever have any questions, just give us a call, send us an email, reach out to us on our Facebook page. and know that we'd be more than happy to help answer any questions you have related to the legislative session and any of the bills being introduced and going through. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.